Okay, let's just get right into it. We are living through a time of massive, massive change. And one of the most successful investors on the planet, Ray Dalio, has a pretty stark warning for all of us. But here's the good news. He's also given us a playbook for how to not just get through it, but actually come out on top. So, let's break it down. Yeah, this quote right here, it really sets the stage, doesn't it? The world is on the brink of a major change. It just perfectly captures the two sides of the coin that Dalio is talking about. On one hand, you've got this immense risk, but on the other, immense opportunity. He's basically saying that right now, fortunes are being both lost and made. The absolute key is understanding the game that's being played. So you might be asking, why should I listen to this guy, Ray Dalio? Well, let me tell you, he's not just some talking head you see on TV. This is the man who founded Bridgewater, literally the world's largest hedge fund. I mean, his entire job is to understand the global economy better than anyone else. His ideas, his frameworks, they're studied by world leaders, by top investors. So yeah, when Ray Dalio talks, the entire financial world pays attention. All right, so Dalio points to three huge forces that are all hitting us at once. And get this, they haven't happened together in our lifetimes. We're going to start with the first, and honestly the most fundamental crisis, the problem with money itself. And more specifically, why that cash you have sitting in your bank account, it's probably not as safe as you think it is. And boom, here's where all that theory hits you right in the wallet, 8.6%. That was the US inflation rate back in May of 2022, a 40-year high. Look, this isn't just some abstract number on a chart. It is a hidden tax that's eating away at your savings, at your paycheck. It's the reason you walk into the grocery store and everything just costs more. This leads to one of Dalio's most famous, and let's be honest, most blunt statements: cash is trash. It's powerful, right? Because when inflation is running this hot, holding on to cash is a guaranteed loss. No, you won't see the number in your bank account go down. But what that money can actually buy you, that's what's shrinking. The big takeaway here is that your savings are losing their power day by day. So to really get this, we need to talk about a core concept: purchasing power. Honestly, this is maybe the most important idea in this whole discussion. Think about it. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million if a loaf of bread costs $500,000. What really matters is what your money can do for you. And high inflation, it just absolutely destroys that power. So what's the engine behind all this? Where is it coming from? Well, here's the core of the problem. When governments need to pay off massive debts, one of the easiest ways to do that is to just print more money. But here's the catch. The amount of actual stuff to buy, cars, houses, food, it doesn't increase nearly as fast. So what you get is more and more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. And that, my friends, is basic supply and demand. It makes every single one of those dollars worth a little bit less. Okay, but the money problem, that's just the first piece of this giant, complex puzzle. Dalio's big warning is that this is happening at the exact same time as two other massive shifts. First, you've got this incredible political division inside of countries like the US. And second, you've got the rise of a really powerful global competitor on the world stage. This is where Dalio zooms way out and puts everything into this historical context he calls the big cycle. It's fascinating. Think about it. After World War II, the US was the undisputed top dog, right? We held most of the world's gold. This kicked off an incredible period of prosperity, but it also led to us racking up a mountain of debt. And now a challenger, China, has emerged, and it's creating this whole new era of competition. For Dalio, this is a classic pattern, a recipe for a major shakeup in who holds power in the world. Okay, so I know that's a lot of heavy stuff. Your money's losing value, the world's in a state of conflict. It can feel a little overwhelming. But here's the really important part. Ray Dalio doesn't just point out the problems and walk away. He actually offers a practical, step-by-step plan for building your own financial resilience. So let's get into his survival guide. All right, let's get super practical. With everything we've just talked about swirling around, what is the very first thing you should do with your money to protect yourself? I'll give you a hint. It's probably not what you're thinking. And Dalio's advice here, it comes from a really painful place. See, early in his career, he made a bad bet and went almost completely broke. He actually had to borrow $4,000 from his dad just to pay his family's bills. Can you imagine? And the lesson he learned from that was profound. Before you even think about investing a single dollar, you need a safety net. You have to calculate what he calls your runway. Basically, how long could you survive if your income stopped tomorrow? Build that cash reserve first. That is the foundation for absolutely everything else. Okay, so once that foundation is secure, then it's time to talk about building wealth. And this is what Dalio calls the holy grail of investing. It's not about picking the one perfect stock. The magic, he says, is owning 10 to 15 different assets that are uncorrelated. That means they don't all go up or down at the same time. So if the stock market takes a nosedive, maybe your gold is up or your international investments are holding steady. It's not just about spreading your money around. It's about intelligently engineering a portfolio where the pieces balance each other out. You're basically building a financial fortress that can withstand any storm.
Dalio also has a really important take on debt. We're always told debt is bad, but he says not so fast. He makes this crucial distinction. There's bad debt, which is exactly what you think, borrowing for stuff that loses value, putting everyday expenses on a credit card. But then there's good debt. This is when you borrow money to buy something that's going to make you more money than what the loan costs you. Think about a loan for a business you know is going to be profitable. Understanding that difference, it's absolutely critical.
All right, so we've got the financial tactics down. But for Dalio, if you really want to navigate this crazy era, it takes more than just a well-balanced portfolio. It really requires a different kind of mindset, a deeper philosophy for how you approach life itself.
And this framework he has for life, honestly, it can be a total game changer. He breaks life down into these 4 stages, and just understanding which one you're in can give you so much peace of mind. Like if you're in your 30s and feeling all this pressure to succeed, just remember, this is your time for striving. And yeah, for failing too. That's part of the process. Or if you're in your late 40s and just feel completely overwhelmed juggling everything, you're not alone. He says that's often the most stressful period for people. It's a perspective that really helps you zoom out and play the long game.
So what's the point of all this? The financial planning, the life strategy, what's the end game? Well, this quote right here gets to the absolute heart of Dalio's entire philosophy. Success isn't about the number in your bank account. That's just a tool. The real goal, the real prize, is freedom. The freedom to live your life on your terms. And you have to wonder, right? How does a guy like this get the mental clarity to make huge decisions under insane pressure? He points to one single practice as the most important thing he does: meditation. He's been doing it for over 50 years. He says it's what gave him the calm to come back from being nearly bankrupt, and even more profoundly, to handle the unthinkable tragedy of losing his son. It's his secret weapon for staying centered in a world of chaos.
So you see, Dalio's guide, it's not really just about surviving a crisis. It's about designing a life that's resilient enough to handle any storm, whether it's financial or personal. It's a roadmap for figuring out what truly matters to you, and then building a life around that. So as we wrap this up, I'm just going to leave you with this one question to think about. In a world that is always, always changing, what does freedom look like for you?